it's important that we find a way to proceed. I've had a couple of people chat us up now saying that they're having network issues, maybe because of the rain. But we have to proceed, even though people are not yet here. So what we would do is do our best to ensure that this conversation, no matter how brief it is recorded, so that we have people who can listen to some of the conversations that we are having. So we'll take the first 10 minutes I'll do most of the major question asking for the first 10 to 15 minutes, after which for everyone who is here, you'll get an opportunity to ask any burning question that you might have around cloud computing and around cybersecurity, so that we can make sense of it, and so that at the end of the day, for any one of us who might find it interesting and amusing and would want to delve much deeper, we can share information on how you are going to be able to do that regardless of where you are. So first things first, I'll do the honors of introducing, to the best of my ability, the two panelists for this conversational webinar that we are having. First is Mr. Kehinde Oluwanoa. It's a technical, I must remember the exact terminology now. Technical, it just keep now, I can almost see.
You can see it, just catch it.
Yes, but it does something technical with him.
All right, you give up.
I give up. So he comes with, is a big brother, is a big boss of ours. He's one of our consultants and our pillars behind 8Gear Partners Limited and behind the brand Impa. And he has a wealth of experience around cloud computing and cybersecurity. Interestingly, he has also done some facilitation at different forums. So he is someone that is an advocate for the knowledge base when it concerns cloud computing and cybersecurity. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you very much.
We also have Professor Adirunke Thompson. She is the head of department of cybersecurity and cloud computing at the Federal University of Technology, Akure, that's FUTA. So because I've used the word prof, I do not need to say about what journey she took to becoming a prof. We all have an idea of what that is. So I think we have a balanced panel. We have someone who is coming from an academic coming from an academic point of view, and we also have someone coming from an industry point of view. So it's an open floor, and we will fire the question in any direction. And I do not have any objection from anyone, so we will delve right into the matter. Okay, so Sal and Ma, and whoever answers first is okay. So we've had people say cloud computing. That most likely means that things are kept in the cloud, iCloud. I want to start from the most rudimental and the base question. Where is the cloud located? Is it actually in space or is it actually in the cloud? Where is it located physically that we can say, oh, this is for our hard drives, we can look at our hard drive and say, this is the hard drive. For our memory card, we can say, this is the memory card, I'm storing data here. So when I store data in the cloud, where does that data go?
All right, so thank you very much. And let me just go for it first. All right, so basically it's still stored somewhere in a physical location within a data center that's probably controlled or owned by an organization, but however, it's made public for people to use. So when we talk about cloud computing, you can just look at it as the delivery of on-demand computing services, maybe application, storage, power processing, typically over the internet, on a pay-as-you-go basis, basically. For instance, just like you said, you store something on the cloud, you probably pay for that storage, right? Maybe iCloud, you buy a 5 gig space on iCloud and then you store, so it's pay as you go. You connect over the internet and then you have the service delivered to you.
Okay, so it's a on-demand service that we connect over the internet.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's still stored somewhere.
Definitely, it's still stored somewhere on a device, it's stored in a location, it's still stored somewhere. It is not magic, it is not stored in the realm of the cloud per se, but because it is not physical to you, that's why the term cloud is used, because it's not something you own, it's not something you have, it's not something that you can see, so that's why the term cloud is basically used. I think Prof
Can I just add? Okay. Can I just add a
Yes, please.
little analogy to the definition Oluwanoa gave? It just occurred to me because I believe most people on this call, they are newbies and people that want to come into the space. So what came to my mind when he was talking, given the definition of cloud computing and all those, is this question. So I want to ask the audience, have you ever thought about where the data you use on your phone come from? I mean, yeah. Have you ever thought about that? I think that will bring it home to us. You just go subscribe. It's pay as you go too. If you don't have airtime or data on your phone, you can't access anything. You can't connect to the internet. So that analogy is parallel to the understanding of what cloud computing is. Obviously, you don't even know where that data is, so to say, but you have some protocols, you have some infrastructure that are connected together and you're able to access it. So that will expand and give the understanding, I feel so, maybe to some people, on what cloud expert definition he gave. Thank you. So that's just what I want to add. I'm a teacher.
Thank you very much. Very well, ma. I don't know, is Dami still on the call?
I think the network push him out.
Okay.
Okay.
Does anybody have a question based on the definition of the clouds before Dami comes back?
Hello, everyone. Busayo, Phillips, Bukola, BY, Oluwatumininu, BOB, T, I don't know, every other person on this call. Is an interactive one, and I'm so passionate about people getting to know how to connect to this space, and so is our technical expert in the house, Oluwanoa. So one thing I found out is if you're going to Lagos, I don't know where you're connecting from. Let's say Lagos in Nigeria, and you don't know the road, depending on your location. If you have somebody around you that has been to Lagos several times, obviously the person would have known where the speed breaker is, where maybe the police post is, everything on that road. So when that person described that road to you, it's easier for you to move on and escape some potholes where you should take caution, where you should tread softly. So please be free on this call. Nobody is an island of knowledge. All of us, we are, personally, I say I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn every now and then. There was still a call that Damilola sent to me. I don't know, maybe Kenny was on that call.
Yeah,
I
I was.
jumped in
Yeah.
and it was for about 2 hours. I learned. I learned. So please just be open. There are no hard and fast route to get into the talk, to get into where you desire. And the truth of the matter is you can get there. And that's why we are here. And that's part of the vision of the eighth gear. You understand, to bring especially the young ones into this space so that you can be the best you want to be. So be free. If you can't unmute and speak, type it. And no question is will be a stupid question. You know, all the question will be answered. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Prof. I equally wanted to ask, because add to this, because most times a lot of people have the fear that, oh, my background is not technical, my background is not engineering, and things like that, and I give you a life experience. I have somebody who I see up as a mentor. And when I met this person, yes, he's not a Nigerian, but when we got discussing about his background, and he told me, Kenny, about 10 years ago, I used to be a chef, and I'd been a chef all my life, but I decided to just take the leap and do something different. And here am I in IT. And I looked at him. This is somebody that I look up to as a mentor. Yes, I have an engineering background, but he doesn't have an engineering background. Probably about 15 years of his life, he was just a chef. And then he did a swap into technology. And here he is today. He is somebody we look up to. So so that always challenges me, even when sometimes when I'm down, as in, if he can do it, then I can do it as well. So let's don't look at where we're coming from. It's about what we decide to do going forward, and then we can always get there. Dami, you're muted. You're saying something, but you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I was out of network some minutes, some few seconds. Okay, so I want to ask, so cybersecurity, so I've asked about cloud computing. So for cybersecurity, I would love to ask, how does it work? I understand that there are hackers and there are ethical hackers. So maybe we should start from there. So how does who is an ethical hacker and what is hacking? And why do we need cybersecurity? Who is the thief, or who are the burglars that are trying to protect against?
Okay, thank you. I'll bring this analogy. All of us, we live in a particular house. We have different houses. And when you're going out, you don't want to leave your belongings opened. So you have a door, your door has a lock. And after that, probably outside the main house, the main building, you have a gate. Do you get? So, same way, in the space now, on the internet, there are assets, because the things we are keeping in our homes, in our houses, in our purses, in our banks, whatever you think it is, they are assets, and we don't want to lose them. So there's something in particular that is a major asset in the space, and that is data. So that is what everybody is gunning at. Those ones that are the owner, they want to keep their assets, and those ones that are deceived, so to say, in quotes, which are now the hackers, they want to get that asset, which is the data. And not only data, disrupt the operation that is ongoing, either for personal purposes or for sponsored purposes. I'm just bringing it home to what we can understand. Obviously, there are technical terms. Nation states will do cyber espionage. That's what you call it. You want to peep into your rival, so to say, or somebody you think has an advantage over you, so that you be able to have access to what he has access to. You'll be able to hijack that. So that is just the concept of the cybersecurity. You want to keep what belongs to you. You don't just want to leave it open. And so you have to secure your data. We're talking about cloud now. The impact we have seen after the COVID now is that most things are moving to the cloud. Apart from the other benefits like cost effectiveness, resource sharing, and availability, and all that. And it's even a better space for your asset to be secured. So now when you talk, that's the concept of cybersecurity. When you're talking about hackers, the ethical hackers, hackers are districts, okay? Maybe, okay, there are two things now, or three. You say some people, they are black hat hackers. You say some people, they are white hat hackers. And some, they are gray hat hackers. Now, for the black, from the word black, especially in this our space, in our continent, anything black is associated with what? Something bad. It's associated with something bad. White could be synonymous to the ethical hacker. That is, you are authorized to check the infrastructure. When we're talking about the infrastructure, we're talking about the networking facilities, the web pages, the apps, and every other thing you have access to in the space that is on the net. So that is for the ethical hacker. And the hackers, they do it for, like I said, it could be for personal purposes. It could be to get at the other counterparts in the space, whether business or anything. While the gray hacker, they mix the two. So, and there are a lot of benefits. Some people do it for monetary purposes as well. When you're talking about malware now, somebody gets your asset, which is your data now, is not allowing people to access your website. A lot of us, we do a lot of e-commerce transaction, probably on Alibaba or Jumia in Nigeria. And you can imagine if that particular website is not available to those people that want to access it. You know how many millions that would have been lost at that time. So that's just the concept. And for that's the concept of security. So you want to make sure that all your things, your assets, they are safe. Thank you. I wouldn't know if maybe Kenny wants to add more. You are in the industry.
Yeah, so I just wanted to even bring it home. Something came to mind, especially what we see prevalent in our climate, as in Nigeria today, where just an example of social engineering as well as hacking. Somebody calls you up and says, "I'm from the bank," and then gets your information, your card details, your BVM number, and then decides to defraud you. You're basically breaking into, that is simple hacking, to be honest, because he has used some principles. He has used what we call social engineering, to talk to you as if it's the person from the bank and things like that, and then he has gotten information from you. Those information are vital to your personal security, your personal information, basically, and then uses that, to gain access to, what you can call your data, which is your money, basically, from the bank. Those are basic principles of hacking that you actually could learn, on how to secure yourself and how to secure your organization. This happens to individuals. It can happen to organization as well. We saw that in some cases of whereby social engineering is used to call an organization and data is gotten from those organizations, emails are intercepted. There are different things that you learn in security, even up to this physical layer, which is physical security. So I just wanted to just chip that in. It's a broad area in security. I will tell you. I know Prof didn't want to go deep inside, but it's a very broad area in terms of security, which is very, very interesting, I must tell you. Okay, I think there are questions coming up on the chat. Maybe we can start addressing those questions. Prof, there's one saying, are there regulatory bodies for cyber security in Nigeria and Africa as a whole for credibility and industry relevance? Do you want to take that?
All right, thank you. Presently, NITDA coordinates every IT in Nigeria, and recently there's this cybersecurity policy that was released from the Office of the National Security Advisor. And I understand Nigeria has a CSET as well, that is Cybersecurity Incident Response Team at the national level. So as at the moment, for the government, those are the regulatory bodies that we have. NITDA specifically regulates every IT stuff in the nation. So, but at the African level, I know there's been a lot of advocacy on scaling up. I know different nations, it's not all the countries in Africa that has cybersecurity policy or something like NDPR, or which is like parallel to the GDPR of the United Kingdom of Europe. But every year, some of them are being encouraged to come on board. And I know that a lot of organizations, even in Africa, even especially in Nigeria, they've been talking about, and even in Kenya, because if you look at the position in Africa, you find out that Kenya, Nigeria, and there's this country now, if I remember, I'll put it on the chat box, because they have adopted digital economy fully and follow the ITU plan and advice, they really come on board as per cybersecurity. So like Oluwanoa said, security is so broad and it's integrated into so many things we do. Think of anything you want to do, even in the space, you've got to get it secured. So it's a big space that really needs people to come in. You need to dive in, because even the next decade and the developed nation, they are gone. But for Africa and African continent, we have to scale it up as well. So that's what I can say about that for now. I wouldn't know if Kenny wants to add more.
Yeah, just to add on just the last note you mentioned, from an industry point of view, one of the things that we use in terms of knowing one of the major areas, priority areas for technology companies as well as organizations as a whole, is how much they spend in particular area. And it's always, security is always the number one spend in terms of IT expenses for every organization. And those are basically, the reasons are not far-fetched, basically what Prof has said earlier, and that's why security is a top burner for everybody. And there's a lot of, it can accommodate as much as anybody that wants to come in. Don't look at it that, oh, there's so much people doing it. We still need so much people in the field of security as well.
Okay. Thank you for that, Prof and Mr. Kenny. I apologize for coming in and out, some network struggles here. So someone is asking again that does one really need to have an in-depth knowledge of networking before diving into cybersecurity? And I think this is a good point to also ask the questions that what are the prerequisites? Yes, you talked about the cook that picked up IT skills, so we hear that, but advice on some of the things that it would be good that you have a background on, or that you have a passion, or you have strength at, that will help you move very fast in this field.
All right, so let me go first, and Prof will add to it. Yeah, so I would always say that I'm an advocate of always knowing your onions, as in terms of knowing what you do very well. So I would say yes, in as much as you're coming on with from a different background, it's important that you also have some understanding, some good technical understanding of how things work. For instance, network. How does a network work? Because the reason why is because people that break into networks or break into organizations study how these things work and then discover loopholes in it. So as a good security person, you have to have the understanding as well on how the bad guy thinks. So basically it's the police and thief stuff we're talking about. You have to be able to be a step ahead of him. How does he think? What kind of loopholes are in XYZ, maybe in an operating system, in a network, in things like that. So you have to also have good technical backgrounds. For instance, learn network, have good understanding of how networks work. Yes, you probably might not be a network engineer, but you have good knowledge about how networks work. Also, in terms of, obviously, we're going to be breaking into systems, right? So definitely you also have to have good understanding on how operating system works as well, either from a Windows, from a Linux point of view, because bad guys are always just looking for vulnerabilities. That's all we're looking for. So you have to understand how does these things work, and generally just have a good understanding of technology. This basically gives you a good leverage, in the security space. I'll leave the floor to Prof to actually give more professional insights into that.
Okay, professional. All right then. Yeah, I'll say that it's very, very important to have, corroborating what Kenny said. It's important to have the understanding of networking, because if you don't have that understanding, it will really be difficult to maneuver things. It was talking about thief, and we were talking about hackers. The idea in this space, I will always say that if you have watched American films before, I mean, action films like Arnold carrying gun, do you understand? You have a territory, another person is attacking the territory, and another group of people, let's say FBI, they are defending the territory. They are looking for solutions to all these problems. So that's the analogy in the space, and that's how a hacker will think. And okay, yeah. Then those ones that are defending, we say they are the red blue team. The blue team rather. The hackers are the red blue. That is offensive security. Defensive is the blue team. So as they have looking at the vulnerability, I want to just say vulnerability, they are like loopholes where you can actually come into a particular system. Do you understand? So just have the idea of vulnerability like that. And no system is perfect. So we can actually say that this system now, as it is now, the security is 100% at every point in time. No, the security, it is always secure at that particular point in time. So having said that, the understanding of networking would help you leverage on that, so that you'll be able to know the possible area where attackers can get to and what solution you're bringing on board to defend those, or to block those loopholes, to defend those vulnerabilities. That's what I want to say, in addition to what our expert has said.
All right, so I think we seem to have focused a little on cybersecurity. So how about cloud computing? Is this still the basic knowledge of networking?
So let's get something, and this angle I'd like to take this to, because when we started the discussion, we started from the fact that cloud computing, right, is on-demand computing from the application, storage, processing power, basically, moving to the cloud. So look at it this way. Proud to now, in our generation, when we started, there was really no cloud. So everything was physical, right? My data center, in terms of my, let's say data center now, in terms of my computer room, just have that mindset. Like data center is more or less like a computer room or a server room, where my servers, my network devices and all that are today. So let's say I'm a technology person, this is where I work. So now we say the cloud, it means that it's no longer with me. I'm connecting to it somewhere, maybe somewhere in Alaska or somewhere, I'm connecting to that same data center remotely. That's basically what we're talking about in the cloud. So we still need to bring in the same knowledge about technology that we have, is that from a network point of view, from a security point of view, from an infrastructure point of view, which is storage, compute meaning now servers, storage meaning now storage devices. We still bring in all those knowledge. Now we now have to leverage those knowledge on the cloud. What do I mean by that? The cloud brings additional knowledge in terms of how does the cloud operate. Before we used to operate physically, now we operate via the cloud. So how do we bring the platform? We have to understand how the cloud works in the first place, how cloud platforms work, and then bring it into our existing knowledge to be able to now be cloud professionals, basically. I'm just trying to explain it as layman as possible, basically. So from a cloud perspective, we also have various kind of jobs in the cloud world. For instance, the cloud brings you a security expert, and then you add the cloud to it, and then you become a cloud security expert. So you probably are a developer, and then you start developing, understanding how cloud platform works and developing on the cloud. Then you now become a cloud developer because you've now been able to merge the two sides into it. Because right now, especially in this generation now, you cannot live without it. Everything is going to the cloud. Let's face it. So you used to be a system administrator before, and then now with the advent of the cloud and your data center is going to the cloud, you leverage the cloud platform on your knowledge, and then you become a cloud administrator. So it changes your role, it changes how you do things as well, once you start moving into the cloud. So the same knowledge, the knowledge you've had, which we've talked about, for instance, let's talk about security now. We talked about networking and things like that, right? Now, when we come to cloud security, now we have to just add the part of the cloud, understanding how cloud works, into that same knowledge, and then we can transform into a cloud security expert. I hope I've been able to just answer that in a way, but if there are questions, I can still proceed.
There'll still be more questions, but I want to quickly share my screen here of one screen munch that made the rounds 2 weeks ago into last week. And it's about, I don't know if you can all see my screen.
Yes.
Can we see my screen, please?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
we can.
All right. So there's this story of Merck. Sorry, of Merck. That's a company. Okay, so Merck is the largest ocean logistics company on earth. It operates 75 port terminals globally, 780 vessels, and did $39 billion dollars in revenue in 2020. When it was hit with the NotPetya, I think NotPetya is a ransomware, and that's another question. Was a malware? Was a ransomware? Was a virus? But I'll hold that thought there. In 2017, only one powered off computer in Lagos held a backup of the company data. So in a stroke of luck, they were able to retrieve the undamaged copy of its Active Directory from the Merck office in Nigeria. It had been unaffected by NotPetya purely because of a power outage in Lagos that had taken the service offline while the virus was spreading. Okay, and then an employee was tasked with transporting that data, apparently physically, to Denmark, the headquarters of Merck. So I intentionally brought this story up. I know you may have encountered this story too, and probably even, some of us laughed it off. That, can you imagine? So the lack of power can be an advantage at the time. So, so a couple of questions out of this story. First and foremost, it looks like it's the big companies that need cloud. That's where I'm going to start from.
It looks like, sorry, did you say?
It looks like big companies are the ones that need cloud because apparently they deal with a lot of more data than smaller companies. Do small companies need cloud services? And in what format do they, because I know that automatically we could say, oh, everybody uses cloud already, on whether knowingly or unknowingly, but in what conscious way can small businesses move their businesses to cloud, and what's the advantage? Why should small businesses also participate? That's number one. Two, a more technical one. What's a virus? And then what's a malware, ransomware, a different type of where? And I'm sure VMware is not a where too.
Okay, let me take the first question, and then Prof can take the second on security. So I'll take the cloud. And so I like that question because I would tell you categorically that the beneficiary of cloud services has actually been startup companies, startup organizations, especially the young people. I'm proud to now, for instance, let's talk about Uber, which is one of the reference points we used to say. Yes, Uber is big today because you've seen it big. But when they started up, can you imagine how much they would have actually needed as a startup company to have their own local data center, building their own data center? You know, a startup company having to go first invest in so much computing resources, because an example is Netflix. You know how much computing resources, computing and storage resources a Netflix actually requires today. So think about it when they were starting up, how much money they would have actually invested in having a data center, you know, to develop their application like Netflix, Uber, you know, Lyft and all that, you know. So it could have been, that could have wrecked a company, because you have to actually have so much money, you know, upfront now, money upfront to go and buy hardware. Now, with the advent of cloud services on demand, it means that with $0, because it's upfront, it's on demand, right? Pay per use. It means that with $0, I can host my application and then pay as we begin to grow. So the greatest beneficiary of cloud computing have actually been startup companies, actually be SMEs, you know, where they don't need huge capital to go and invest in hardware, in computing resources. They can easily just go on the cloud and purchase as they use any kind of cloud services they require. I'll give you an example. Maybe this might be a little advanced for people that are just starting up. Big data, or the data basically is the new gold, right? Data is the new oxygen or the new money, you know, and data is very large when we talk about data, especially unstructured data. You know, in terms of analyzing this data requires huge amounts of computing resources. Most times before now, only large organizations had access to invest in those kind of resources that are required to analyze such data. But now every cloud provider, every major cloud provider basically has quite a lot of services that they run that they can offer you to actually analyze data on the go, you know, which you and I now, without having access to those huge capital to invest in those resources, can go to the cloud and just start to use, and then we pay per use, basically. So I would go back to my first point that the greatest beneficiary is basically the SMEs, the startup companies, you and I, that are out there that can easily just subscribe to any cloud provider and make use of their services.
Okay. So startups, what you've said is that startups can also participate, meaning that startups actually are one of the major beneficiaries of cloud services. Okay, so well, I think this is to Prof. What are wares? And I think that's the simple way to put it, that wares.
Okay, yeah, thank God we have somebody from VMware in the house, but we're looking at him, he's not a virus. Okay, there's the generic name for these malicious codes is malware. Malicious codes. Malicious, you know, from the English word, it has a wrong intention. Do you understand? Sometimes it's not all of them, that the degree of the severity differs. Do you understand? So like virus now, virus attach itself to documents and they spread that way. And when it attaches itself to documents, obviously it corrupts the document. That's the very first one, or the very first set of malware that we're used to. But over time, especially when Bitcoin came on board, you have some of these big tech or even tech savvy people attacking infrastructure or data or resources with these malicious codes. And they will now tell you that we got the key to your house, come and pay me so that I can release the key. That's the ransomware. And FBI even warned recently that the fact that you have these malicious, you have these threat actors telling you that come and pay me so that you'll be able to have it does not guarantee that you're going to have access to your data even after you're being paid. So FBI warned recently that people, companies, victims should no longer pay. Obviously, it's a very tricky thing because you can imagine having about, like he said, like the question that Milola asked, that is it only the big companies that the cloud pays off? No, but look at the number of data that they will have, whether structured, even unstructured. So that's the target. And like Kenny said, is there's a goal of our time now of this digital age. So in general, you have different types of malware. You have virus, you have worm. Worm just replicate themselves. And when they replicate themselves on your computer, they are taking space. So you are not able to save legitimate thing you should have on your system. You have Trojan horse, you have hardware. You know, some of our mobile apps now, if you go to where do you Play Store and you download some apps, you will get some that you need to pay, that they will sell without hardware. They distract you, they disturb you. Although that is not to destroy or to take over your data, but they cause distraction when you're using the app. So if you don't want any hardware on your, that is advertisements where, if you don't want it, then go for the ones that is without that. Then the other one, you have a lot of them. You have Trojan horse, and these are different things that, like developers, and that's what we are saying, that you need to understand some things. I understand that everybody may not really be technical, because at a point in this space, some people were saying you don't need any degree for cybersecurity and all this IT thing. But my question is, have a balance. You have the body that are in charge monitoring and maintaining internet, like IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force. If you don't have the understanding, deep understanding of what cryptography is, encryption, even Bitcoin, how you can do malware, I mean, how you can do cloud computing, relational database, models that you can use to kill, so that your so that people will not be wobbling and all that. How would you understand that? So like Kenny said the other time, know what you want, but you have these people in this space, like in the industry and for us in the academia. Just get the balance, get to the LinkedIn, look for people like Edgar, like Kenny, follow them, ask questions. They are all there to navigate us into this space so that you know the right path to take. Thank you. I hope I've been able to add.
Yes, yes, yes. Fantastic. It's already making me as an individual just imagine a number of things. Thank you so much for that, Ma. We have a question from Temi again in the chat, but before I come to that question, I think this is probably one of the last for me as we wrap up. And in case anyone else has any question, please feel free to drop off your questions. So my question will be in two parts, and I think this will go to Prof. Are there like maybe different can I have a specialization in cloud and in cybersecurity that, hey, see, I don't want to go too deep. I don't want to know everything. I just want to know this part. I just want to know this part. I just want to know this part. That's the part A of the question. And then in part B will be that, the same question you attempted to answer, meaning, must I, what's the basic level of education that I should have to be able to, take advantage, to be able to access this type of knowledge, that I'll be able to understand it and pick it up. I don't know if I know that I asked that question off the top of my head, so it's a little bit rough. Maybe let me try to clean it up again. Are there bodies of knowledge and like specifications, specialties within cloud computing and cybersecurity, so that I can start as an individual? You know what? I don't intend to know everything. I just want to know this part. In programming, for instance, there is software tester. There is, I only write C, I don't write Java. I write this, I only do front end, full stack, in the world of cloud, do we have those type of specializations as well? That's number one. And then two, what's the minimum practical now? What's the minimum education? What's the minimum knowledge, so that someone listening to us now can say, oh, you know what, this is within my reach, or this is far away from my reach? Prof, I don't know if you got that question.
Okay, yes, I do. Okay, okay, I was thinking maybe Kenny will start. All right. Okay. Yes, like taking it from where I stopped the other time about having a degree or not having a degree. For me personally, this is my personal view. I'll prefer anyone with an education certificate. Now it could be ND. I'm now talking in terms of this space, this country now, Nigeria. It could be ND, which is the national diploma. It could be HND, it could be degree. Like somebody asked in the chat box that I have agriculture as a background. Kenny has already given us the other story about that chef. So you can start from anywhere, but for me, minimally, I prefer you have the minimum degree that at least with this country. Do you understand? Or whichever country you are in, minimum. Don't say that, because I believe, this is my reason. I believe that over time you will grow in the space. And when you see people that are getting high pay, what effort, what will be the basis of paying you? It will only be based on your technicality, or I know people are there that are not probably didn't go to school, but one way or the other, you found out that as you move up in the space, they get to have a basic degree, either first degree and move on, plus other certification. Certification is important too. And in my institution, one of the things we're advocating, and one of the things we bring on board, even as I lead that department, the opportunity I need to lead the department, is that be able to compete with your mates anywhere in the world, because it's already a global space. You have a lot of people now working remotely. You have a lot of like Andela. The other time, I don't know the number, I can't pick the number of developers that Andela supply to the world, even to the developed nation. A lot of people are residing in Lagos, but guys are in Lagos that are working remotely, working for people in France and all that. Definitely. So be good, be at best at whatever you are. Then move on. You need certification so that you'll be able to compete. You go beyond the shores of Nigeria. The other time at the Cloud Tech call, you have people that are working with Amazon, you have people from South Africa, and they are doing well. The truth of the matter is they are Nigerians. They started from Nigeria. Do you get? So you can start as well and move up the ladder. So for me, minimally, let me just stop there, will be that. Then I think there is the other question you ask. I'm not sure if I'm okay, specialized. Thank you. Yes, it's a broad field. Kenny said that earlier. Very, very wide. In fact, at the EC Council certification, you have about 52. The last time I checked, 52. I can't remember everything. As a pen tester, as a forensic analyst, as a ethical hacker, it's so wide. It's so wide. Malware experts, it's just so wide. So you can specialize. And that's what we are saying. You have the general knowledge and you pick a particular area that this is where I want to focus and be a voice in that space. Yes, that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Kenny, you want to add anything?
Yeah, so in fact, let me just start from where Prof stops. There is no way you can be.
Yeah, we lost your audio.
Can you hear me?
You're not muted, but we lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Okay.
I was saying that there is no way you can be a know-all person. There is no way, and there's no magic you can do about that. You have to find your path inside this particular field and then focus on it and specialize on it. Just like Prof said, yes, you have the minimum education, especially in the country where you where you reside. In some countries, they're not particular about the degrees in institutions, but in Nigeria here, we're very particular about that. So have that minimum level. And as you grow up in that ladder, there is no way you will get to a stage whereby you need to focus more on a particular area, especially in your interest. And then you would see the need to develop yourselves the more. Some people begin to take up master degrees in a particular field, and a PhD degree in a particular field because of their curiosity of knowledge in that particular field. So just to wrap it up, specialization is inevitable. You have to just focus on a particular area. The field is very wide, and not every of that, not every area is hardcore technical. You still see some areas whereby it's more of analysis and more of this and that, but the good knowledge of how it also works is very important. So that's what I will add to it.
All right. I think we are coming towards the end. I was hoping more questions will come in the chat, but I just have one more from Temi that I'm going to read out now. And then once we answer that question, I will call it a wrap and say thank you to our panelists. So Temi is asking, are there recommended trainings and courses to learn cloud computing and cybersecurity? I would love to start by saying, before I allow Mr. Kenny and Prof to add, that right here on this call, we have representatives of Inkeeper.work, which is the learning platform for APS learners. And the trainings in cloud computing and cybersecurity are also available on it, that guides and helps candidates towards some level of certification. Okay. And then we also have the Department of Cybersecurity in FUTA. So if you are an undergraduate or if you are a high school graduate and you have not, you're probably writing JAM or something, you want to pick FUTA so that you'll be with Prof. And then you get an opportunity to be tutored by the fantastic institution and the program that runs there. And apart from that, there are tons of training and courses out there as well. So it's recommended that in case you're interested, just info@inkeeper.work is the email to send your requests to. Oluwatumininu is on this call. She'll drop the phone number of Inkeeper in the chat as well. As we're wrapping up, I'm just going to send a very short poll out for us to just take. I don't know if Mr. Kenny has anything to add as per the answer that I've given to that question.
Yeah, as regards the certifications, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, as regards learning generally, trainings and courses.
Yeah, so I would say learning is continuous. Learning, so anything that could actually improve your understanding in that particular field. Start from the basis. That's what I would say. Inkeeper has an 8 gear can assist you. If you're in university, find yourself around FUTA, yes, the faculty can also assist you. And then we also live in the internet age, whereby there's a lot of resources, where you can actually also add to your knowledge. Videos, instead of just watching all your Snapchats and your Instagrams, spend time in watching YouTube videos, that could actually assist you in doing a lot of, giving you a lot of knowledge. Just make sure learning does not stop. That's it, That's it for me.
All right. I think this is where we'll call it a day. We intend that this 1 hour will just be something to spice up and to encourage us to yearn for more knowledge, and we'll have a more interactive series like this in the near future, and we'll communicate to you. So for every one of us listening, this is a big thank you for being for joining us today. And then we have a very, very quick survey, just a very quick one, about 4 questions there about for you to answer. Just answer to the best of your ability for all the participants on board today. And then Oluwatomininu will drop our phone number in the chat, and then in case you have any questions pertaining to this webinar that has held, or in the future any other conversation, you can always give a call or send an email to info@innkeeper.org. Both phone number and email will be dropped in the chat shortly. So this is where I say a very big thank you to Mr. Kehinde Noah. Thank you for the time. Apologies for getting off late, but we did have a wonderful time learning in the last couple of minutes with you. Thank you for coming. Professor Aderonke Thompson of the Department of Cybersecurity, FUTA. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the time spent with us. We appreciate you. We look forward to having you at another session sometime soon again. And to every other person on this call, we say a very big thank you for coming around. And have a one. Oh, Bio Phillips raised his hand. Bio Phillips, if you're there, please just go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Okay, I don't really have a question. I just want to appreciate the team for this opportunity. Thanks so much. God bless you.
All right, Busayo, thank you very much. You are also appreciated for making it. We'll keep the conversation going. Thank you for coming up. So thank you for everything, Mr. Kenny, Professor Aderonke.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful day, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.